Hello everybody, my name is Brian Nguyen from NUIT Support Services, and I'm here today to talk to you about the recent bulk mail version 6 upgrade that was recently performed on October 29th. I will be going through a couple features that were changed in the new user interface and just kind of go over some other changes within the drafting of the message, which may clear up some concerns with the new upgrade. So there are several new features within version 6. So I'd like to kind of walk through some of these changes. So first thing, everybody should be familiar with the login screen. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Login screen has not changed at all. Now once you log in, you'll notice that the user interface is looking a lot different than it was before. You'll notice that mail jobs over here on the left-hand side, there is no longer the option to look at all mail jobs. They are split up within folders. But you should be able to access them by simply going to the mail jobs folder. So you can still see all your jobs, there just won't be a folder that specifically says all mail jobs. You'll also see target groups are listed down here. Now this may vary based on the group that your account exists in. So I am in the main NU group, which has access to the majority of the target groups for the university. So can I scroll through here? Okay, so let's get started in drafting a new message. So you'll notice the icons also have changed a little bit up here as well. But if you hover your mouse over it, there should be little tooltips that tell you what each button does. So I'm going to go ahead and create a new mail job. So this part is pretty similar to what we've seen before. And again, I just like to put my NetID as the prefix just so if I'm collaborating with other users, we understand who created the initial message. But totally optional. Okay, so first we're going to start with defining the recipients. Now, most of us are probably going to be using target groups or uploading the lists of NetIDs or email addresses. Now, the uploading of the email addresses has not changed at all, but the target groups do look a little bit different, and I'm going to outline them here. So I'm going to select target group, click next. Now here you are able to see all the target groups available for your group. Let's see here. So if I go to, let's say this one, school. So before, you would see kind of an overview of the target group, but now you can look at each individual target group and see what they involve. So by school, for instance, here. Parameters, that enables us to see what options we can select. So we can select students by school, but instead of clicking everybody, it gives us the option to select individual options. I'm going to go ahead and click next to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So it allows us to change the options, but it tells us what options we are able to choose before we move forward. So I'm going to go ahead and select Evanston and just click some random schools. One nice thing about the new upgrade is that it automatically dedupes the recipient list. Before, you had to go back and kind of define the email fields or whatever fields that you specified to be deduplicated. But it seems to do that automatically for you, which is a very nice feature. So again, here you see that it still gives you the same kind of summary options as it did before, and it automatically deduped my recipient list. It also tells us the overview of our selection. So that We're going to move on to defining the message. Now, the define message, the UI is pretty different from the last version, which has caused a little bit of confusion. The subject line still is there, so we got to make sure that we always have a subject line, or else the system will not let us proceed. Now, one issue that a lot of people have been experiencing is the text and the HTML formatting. By default, the system will give us text formatting. So in order to disable that, we can go to Options. Sorry. Actually, let's create HTML first. So we go back to the template gallery. We're just going to open an HTML content. Now, please note that there are two HTML contents here. This one is more of the WYSIWYG editor, but we can also switch back to the source code mode, which I will explain a little bit later. This HTML content is if you are given an HTML file from whoever created the content, you can simply copy and paste or upload the file into bulk mail, and it will format it accordingly. But for our demonstration, we're just going to do a simple HTML content blank template. So now you'll see the HTML tab and the text tab. This should look pretty familiar to the old bulk mail. But most of the time, we do not want the text alternative. So since we already have the HTML tab, we can disable the text by going to Options, and then we can uncheck this box right here. Now it gives us the option, it makes us confirm, click OK. And then when we click OK again, go back to define message, that text portion is not there. Like, it does not ask us for it anymore. So we go to HTML. Same as before, we have the edit the HTML content link. Now you'll notice it's a little bit different now. In the previous version, we had the option of selecting either the design mode, the WYSIWYG editor, or source code. Here we can switch back and forth, which is pretty similar to Adobe Dreamweaver, if anybody is familiar with that application for creating these types of messages, or just HTML sites in general. So we're going to start with design mode, but we can switch by toggling up here. So I'm just going to put some test. Okay. And once I click OK, you will notice that it automatically is green. Now, a lot of people have approached us saying that they've defined their message and the defined message is still red. That is usually because the alternative text option is still enabled. If this is still enabled, then the text tab requires the user to input the text alternative version before it'll let you continue. So if you're confident that you have completed the subject line and your content, please make sure that you have the text disabled or enabled, whatever you need to do, but just that is the option that kind of trips people up. Now there's also another feature called Enable HTML Code Protection. This is for if you have created the message outside of mail, like for instance, Dreamweaver. So if you have created content in Dreamweaver before and copy and pasted the code into bulk mail, you may have noticed that it will give you a red error saying that there is some code that bulk mail does not accept, and that will generally kind of stop the message. Now, the code protection, if you upload your source code, with this unchecked, it will format the code so that bulk mail will read it correctly. Please note that if you check that, it will keep the code intact and not change it at all. So just make sure that your code is correct before uploading it to the bulk mail system. Now, please note that sometimes by leaving the code disabled, the code protection disabled, it may change the formatting of your message. So please be sure to kind of check the message on different browsers before the final send. Okay, so we're just going to go through the rest of it. The rest of the process is pretty straightforward. You'll notice that since I have no links in my content, it will automatically it'll automatically complete the defined tracking portion because there are no links or anything to be tracked other than the standard open up tracking. But I'm going to go back here. I'm going to insert some lines, or sorry, some links. Okay, so I have a couple links here. I'm going to click OK. OK again. And now when I go back to define tracking, it gives us several other features. So we can either collect all links or user-defined links where we check each link manually, or we can select no tracking at all. Typically, a lot of users will select all links. As before, there was a separate button to track all links, but here it kind of breaks it down into 3 simple steps. So we're going to go ahead and track all links here. Unique tracking, same as before. And then it gives us the summary page. Okay, so now we're ready to define the sender. So this page should look the same as the previous version. So I'm just going to select any old profile. And again, you're going to want to leave the handle bounce message automatically. So delivery test, this is still the same as before. So we're going to put in our recipients. Give it a minute to send. There we go. So there's our test message. Now I haven't defined any extra parameters or anything, so it will just simply send what I specified. So that looks okay to me. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, and that should give us the green bar to move on. Delivery settings, pretty much the same as before. So we're going to start immediately delivering this job unless we specify a time or date. Now, since this is a test job, I'm not going to actually authorize the delivery, but once I authorize the delivery, it will send as usual, but it still gives the job summary with a breakdown of each portion. Okay, so one thing I kind of wanted to touch back on is I'm going to go back to the defined message. The template gallery is a little bit different than before. So if I go back to the template gallery, you'll notice that the click and fill templates are still here, and it does give us the preview options. So I'm going to go ahead and click the single column here. And same as before, instead of clicking on the actual links itself or the placeholders, we click on Edit the HTML content. And one nice little feature is it gives the content fields on the side here. So go ahead and click. As I'm progressing through this, please note that you'll see the checkbox or check marks over on the right-hand side that tells us that that feature is done and you're ready to move on to the next part. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill out the rest of this so that we can move on with our message. I'm just going to leave these blank since I don't really need anything here. They are required fields. I'm sorry, they're optional. It does say optional. Okay, so once we're done defining our placeholders, we're going to click OK, and that's going to take us back to our define message field. And if everything looks OK, go ahead and click OK, and it'll take us back to the delivery test since we modified the message. So I'm going to go back to our completed jobs. Let's pretend that we've already authorized this job and we're ready to move on. Now, when it comes to reporting, we can go back to completed jobs. In the previous version, there was an option to select multiple jobs for reporting purposes. But now there's no more job comparison reports. So if I were to click on a couple here, it doesn't give me the option for job comparisons, but instead what we can do now is create a combined report on all selected jobs. So I'm just going to click the last two here. And it gives us information on what fields we would like specified here. So once we're ready to move on, let's go ahead and see this report. So we're able to see the combined statistics of the different jobs over time. Another feature that people might not be familiar with is team collaboration. Team collaboration is for when you want to work with another person on your team regarding the same message. Maybe one person drafts the message, the other person defines the recipients, vice versa. Basically, you can split up the job into different portions for each member on your team. So team collaboration can happen during the message or after the message. After the message is usually if you are trying to look at reporting or just want to share that kind of information with other people on your team. But I'm going to go to open jobs now. So let's say I have a couple jobs here that I am pending maybe more information on from somebody else. Instead of waiting for that person to give me the information, I can simply assign them the option to chime in and work on the job whenever is convenient for them. So before, you had to go to each individual job and go to the team collaboration. Now, with the new upgrade, it does give us the option to select multiple jobs at once. It gives us the option to select multiple jobs at once and team collaboration of all selected jobs. So once I've selected the jobs I want to share, click on team collaboration of all selected jobs. And here it gives us the option to define which portion you would like to assign to your team members. So keep is basically the current option, but please note that these are shared by NetID, and you can only share with people in your group. So if you are in several groups, for instance, in order to collaborate with another person in a different group, you'll probably have to copy that message into that group that that user exists in, and then you can share it with them. So let's say recipients. I'm waiting for this person to upload the recipient list. So if when I click yes, this person will see this particular job in their open jobs queue, even though they did not create it. And then they can go in and assign the recipients list or whichever portion was assigned to them. Now, please note that they will only be able to do that portion. So please note which area you assign to them. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I don't think that person really wants to see my job. Now, completed jobs works the same as well. So let's say we've sent our messages to everybody, and this person is contacting you regarding reporting statistics. Instead of going back and kind of creating those statistics all the time, you can actually assign them as collaborators on those jobs so that they can go in and grab the statistics themselves. So I'm going to select a bunch of jobs, team collaboration. Now you'll notice that only the reporting option is selectable because the job has already been sent. You can't really go back and modify it at this point. So they can use it in their reports to pull up any information as needed. So this kind of overviews some of the changes in the user interface of the new bulk mail version 6. One link that you can refer to for more information about the changes. Let me pull it up here. So this link was sent out in our second bulk mail reminder email to all users. It kind of outlines all the different changes. I've kind of gone through a lot of them already, but the main changes that have been causing issues are the text alternative option, because that is kind of created by default now, so you have to actually go in and disable that. And the changing between the HTML and the text, I'm sorry, the HTML design and code formatting. But other than that, the system is pretty much the same. It has the same functionality. So if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to contact me at brian@northwestern.edu, or I can be contacted at 847-467-4437. And that kind of wraps up our short presentation. I hope that you all are not having too much trouble with the new system, and feel free to contact me if you have any questions or concerns. Thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.